Wardlow is once again the AEW TNT champion after defeating Powerhouse Hobbs on AEW Dynamite last night, whilst gaining a new manager in the process. We got details on that. Plus, Komander is all elite and has signed an AEW contract. Chris Jericho makes it very personal with Adam Cole as he aligned himself with the Outcasts last night on Dynamite in Pittsburgh. There has been a 4 Pillars tournament announced to determine the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship. Takeshita has joined forces with the elite in their battle against the Blackpool Combat Club. Will Ospreay hopes to see variety at the All in London show later this year. A TBS championship match has been announced for Dynamite next week on TBS. Matches have been announced for this week's edition of AEW Rampage, and Hiroshi Tanahashi is currently dealing with an injury. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about, once again, a brand new AEW TNT champion. Wardlow is now a 3-time AEW TNT champion, but more importantly, he's got himself the greatest enforcer in professional wrestling history. Mr. Mayhem captured the title with a victory over Powerhouse Hobbs on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite, but the biggest talking point coming out of the show was Wardlow aligning himself with the legendary Arn Anderson. Prior to the match, the two appeared in a backstage segment to shed light on their new alliance. Tully Blanchard was a smart guy. He probably taught you how to be the best checkers player in AEW, Anderson told Wardlow, referring to Blanchard's time as a member of the Pinnacle along with Wardlow. Anderson ended the segment by warning everyone to get ready as Wardlow was on the verge of playing chess now that he was aligned with another legendary 4 horsemen. Wardlow's association with Anderson paid dividends on the very first night. During the closing stages of the Wardlow vs. Hobbs title bout, QT Marshall attempted to get involved until he was cut off by Anderson, who laid out QT with his signature DDT, much to the delight of fans in attendance. Wardlow ultimately won the match with a powerbomb symphony, but after the match, Wardlow was stared down by Christian Cage and Luchasaurus as AEW's announcers teased a future program between Wardlow and the new and improved Luchasaurus. With Wardlow's victory, it's worth pointing out that the TNT Championship has changed hands on 5 occasions, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 occasions since the start of 2023, beginning with Darby Allin's victory over Samoa Joe on January 4th. Allin's 28-day was then ended by Joe, who proceeded to drop it to Wardlow at the Revolution pay-per-view. Wardlow's 3-day reign was then ended by Hobbs on March 8th. The last person to hold the TNT Championship for over 50 days was Wardlow himself, who held the title for 136 days between July and November 2022. But quite interestingly as well, after the title victory, there was an interesting name that was laughing at Wardlow's title victory. After AEW posted the victory on social media, they had an intriguing reply from one AEW star that we haven't seen since All Out last year. And oh no, we're not talking about that guy. You know the guy, Chicago Phil. We're not talking about him. Miro responded to the post about Wardlow's TNT Championship victory with an intriguing emoji, the laughing crying face, perhaps teasing a future challenger for the TNT Championship with the biggest pay-per-view, or the big pay-per-view coming up in Las Vegas. I mean, AEW Double or Nothing is just around the corner after all, but of course it does kind of look like at the same time that maybe that Wardlow's going to be facing Luchasaurus. Maybe it's just Miro trolling because that's all he's really doing in AEW at the moment because he's not on television. So what are your thoughts on Wardlow winning the championship and the TNT Championship once again changing hands on AEW television? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, it wouldn't be an edition of Dynamite without a new signing, would it? And indeed, Tony Khan has announced that Komander is all elite after having a fantastic match against Jay White in the latter's in-ring debut after signing with AEW. Another big signing was announced shortly thereafter. There is apparently no hiring freeze in All Elite Wrestling as Tony Khan announced another big signing on Twitter last night. Komander is officially all elite. Khan wrote, quote, "He's one of the most incredible athletes in wrestling, and after his great effort tonight on AEW Dynamite, now it's official, Komander is all elite." Now, in a recent interview with Sports Illustrated, Komander commented on the interest expressed in signing him by both WWE and AEW. He also, there was a picture of Komander and Tony Khan after Dynamite last night, which is certainly quite interesting. As I mentioned, after his initial AEW debut, which was in the Face of the Revolution ladder match, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that Komander was on WWE's radar, reporting that WWE had reached out to Komander after his AEW debut was announced. However, after last night's Dynamite, where Komander lost to Jay White, as well as after the initial announcement, Khan took to social media again to share a cheeky snap with the newest AEW signee. Doing a reminiscent signature pointing pose, albeit in reverse, Khan posted a joyful photo with Komander as the proud boss looked thrilled with his most recent signee. He tweeted, quote, "Welcome to the team, Komander. He fought hard tonight in a great match on AEW Dynamite, and if you didn't see it yet, you can catch Komander versus Jay White coming up right after the US Soccer versus Men's Mexico national team football match. Dynamite coming up next on TBS." So certainly Tony Khan very happy that he signed Komander. What are your thoughts on Komander becoming All Elite? Now, things got pretty personal between Chris Jericho and Adam Cole last night on AEW Dynamite. Complete chaos ensued on last night's AEW Dynamite after a face-to-face between Chris Jericho and Adam Cole in the ring devolved into complete bedlam. After an exchange of words on the mic between Jericho and Cole turned physical, Jericho Appreciation Society member Daniel Garcia and Jericho were attacking Cole when his real-life partner, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, ran out. Interfering in the beatdown to slap Chris Jericho across the face, Baker was entirely unaware of the crowd of outcasts looking behind her, as she was soon thereafter jumped by Saraya, Ruby Soho and Toni Storm after facing off against the latter two in the ring earlier on in the night on Dynamite. While the trio took out Baker, Jericho handcuffed Cole to the bottom rope as he looked like he might attack Adam Cole with a kendo stick. Instead, he handed it to Saraya. While the outcasts violently beat down Baker in front of Cole, there was an emotional scene between the couple as Cole was heard apologizing, and to punctuate the drama, Baker called out for Adam Cole's shoot name, Austin, rather than Adam during the attack. It was a pretty heavy segment, and it's going to be interesting where they go with this. Are we going to see Jericho versus Cole at Double or Nothing? Are we going to see Jericho and Saraya versus Cole and Britt Baker at Double or Nothing? What do you think will happen? Let me know your thoughts about this one. What did you think of the segment? Was it a way to get you invested in this Jericho and Adam Cole feud? Certainly, again, it got personal. It was difficult to watch at points. Did you like it? Didn't you like it? As always, I'm sure you'll let me know. Now, we have a better idea as to what's going on in the AEW World Championship picture. Last night's AEW Dynamite kicked off with an in-ring war on the mic between 3 of the 4 AEW pillars. With Jungle Boy Jack Perry making an entrance, being interrupted by Sammy Guevara making an entrance, who was then interrupted by Darby Allin, the trio ended up having some spicy exchanges, with Allin accusing Perry of being in AEW because he is part of a California clique. He also criticized Guevara for being the sidekick to Chris Jericho. With MJF coming out to announce that he had consulted his good friend Tony Khan in the back, he had a resolution for their squabbling. There would be a 4 pillars tournament between the pillars to find out who would move on to AEW Double or Nothing to face MJF for the AEW World Championship. MJF pulled names from a hat to determine the person that would get a bye in the first round of the tournament was none other than Darby Allin, meaning in round 1 for the first time ever it would be Sammy Guevara versus Jungle Boy in the main event of Dynamite. The winner would face Darby Allin next week, and the winner of that will then challenge MJF in a singles match at Double or Nothing. In the main event of Dynamite, MJF's presence proved to be pivotal as Sammy Guevara took on Jungle Boy Jack Perry. In a backstage interaction during an interview with Renee Paquette earlier on in the show, MJF approached Sammy Guevara with a scintillating offer. Join him in the AEW Double or Nothing main event. So the catch, his expectation would be that Guevara not compete rather just lay down, but MJF sweetened the deal by offering a blank check and telling Sammy to name his price. While Guevara seemingly aligned with MJF for a hefty sum, in the main event he was initially going it alone against Jungle Boy as the pair put on a good match. However, in the end, after taking a big bump off the top rope onto the timekeeper's table, Jungle Boy was at risk of being counted out, where MJF appeared from out of nowhere, clobbering Jungle Boy with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, entirely knocking him out. Guevara had distracted the referee during the attack, but then pointed back to the action at ringside, reminding the ref to continue the count. The count went on, and without Perry returning to the ring, Guevara won the match via countout, and he will go on to face Darby Allin on next week's AEW Dynamite. So do you believe that we're going to get this one-on-one match at Double or Nothing, or do you believe eventually we're still going to get to this full-way match for the AEW World Championship? MJF, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Now, elsewhere on Dynamite last night, the war between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite continued, and the Elite have found a new ally on Dynamite after all hell broke loose between them and the Blackpool Combat Club, with the Elite making an entrance with much more a much more serious demeanor. They were in the ring to call out the Blackpool Combat Club before being interrupted on the big screen by none other than Bryan Danielson. While they had their backs turned, however, the Blackpool Combat Club attacked and began a big beatdown in the ring of the Elite. When Don Callis attempted to come to the ring with a chair, he was scared off as Danielson had joined the melee with a microphone to taunt the Elite. However, there would soon be an equalizer emerge as Callis wouldn't stay gone for good. With Callis returning with Konosuke Takeshita, the Japanese wrestling star made a big run in to help out Kenny Omega and the Elite, just as Danielson threatened to attack Omega with a screwdriver. Getting in between Omega and any further damage, Takeshita helped the Elite and ended up standing tall alongside them to help end the segment. Of course, this has been a continuation of Don Callis scouting, shall we say, Takeshita in recent weeks, and it would appear that he's maybe becoming a fringe member of the Elite, maybe, and as we're building to some kind of match at Double or Nothing, and then maybe Blood and Guts, there could be, I guess, Anarchy at the arena, and then maybe Blood and Guts. What are your thoughts on Takeshita joining up with the Elite, and what are your thoughts on Kenny Omega's look towards him there? Could we see maybe Don Callis managing Takeshita facing off against Kenny Omega in the future? That could be one hell of a match, certainly. Now, people are still already trying to figure out what's the card going to be for AEW All In London at Wembley Stadium. Now, one name that a lot of people have pitched to appear on the show is New Japan Pro Wrestling star Will Ospreay, who has wrestled multiple matches for AEW in the past. Ospreay has previously teased that he would like to be featured on the show, and speaking with Dark Perosu Flocion, he gave his thoughts on the show. Ospreay said that though the priority should be with his talent, he does hope that there is more variety on the show. He said, quote, "Obviously, this is an AEW show. The priority should be his talent, but I do hope it's about variety, because I think if you have a finger in a bunch of pies, you're reaching out to every market of wrestling fan and bringing it to Wembley." So would you like to see Will Ospreay inside Wembley Stadium? I think it's highly likely he'll be there, but what are your thoughts on Ospreay possibly wrestling at AEW All In London? Now, we've got some matches announced for next week's show we spoke about when it comes to the AEW World Championship picture. But TAYA VALKYRIE, she's been razor focused on Jade Cargill since making her AEW debut last month. And she will get her first opportunity at the TBS Championship next week. It was announced on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite that VALKYRIE will attempt to do what scores of women have failed at, and that's defeat the undefeated Jade Cargill inside of an AEW ring. The rivalry between the two women intensified on last week's AEW Rampage, where Cargill and Layla Gray ambushed VALKYRIE following her victory over Emi Sakura. After the match, Gray tried to jump VALKYRIE only to get planted with the Road to Valhalla. However, she did enough to soften up VALKYRIE as Cargill capitalized on the situation by striking VALKYRIE face first with a stiff kick. Cargill then made a statement by hitting JADE and pinning VALKYRIE by counting to 3. Cargill proceeded to mock her rival with "How my feet taste" tweet directed at VALKYRIE. There is little doubt that VALKYRIE presents the biggest threat to Cargill's dominant run as champion. While the champ has overcome tough challenges, she has yet to face a wrestler with the championship pedigree of VALKYRIE, who has dominated the women's divisions across promotions such as Impact, AAA, and MLW. Conversely, VALKYRIE has yet to wrestle someone as intimidating as Cargill. In 2023 alone, Cargill has successfully retained her title against the likes of Sky Blue, Red Velvet, Nicole Matthews, Billy Starks. However, she has not defended the TBS Championship on pay-per-view since her victory over Nyla Rose at Full Gear last November. Cargill has gone 21-0 in title defenses since becoming the inaugural TBS champion in January of 2022. And remains 57-0 since making her AEW debut in March of 2021. Now, other matches that have been announced for next week's show, as I mentioned, there is going to be that Pillars Tournament final, Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara. But the real interesting thing is going to be are we going to get a one-on-one match in that match alone and at Double or Nothing? Are we going to get a one-on-one match for the AEW World Championship? I don't know. What do you think? Now, Rampage is interesting this week. It's got a special date and start time, and matches have been announced and segments have been announced for the show. On last night's edition of AEW Dynamite, several big bouts were announced for the upcoming episode of AEW Rampage. Rampage will air this week on Saturday, April 22nd at a start time of 10 PM Eastern, 9 PM Central on TNT. Jon Moxley is set to take on Christopher Daniels after last night's brutal attack of the Elite by the Blackpool Combat Club saw a new ally emerge in Takeshita. El Hijo de Vikingo will defend his AAA Mega Championship against Dralistico Jericho. Fans will hear from Matt and Jeff Hardy, Hook and Isaiah Cassidy ahead of their firm deletion match that is set to take place at the Hardy compound. Julia Hart from the House of Black takes on Kiera Hogan. We hear from Jade Cargill ahead of her TBS Championship match against TAYA VALKYRIE on next week's April 26th edition of AEW Dynamite. Finally, a big match is set to feature some big players in AEW. An unlikely alliance is set to stand up for Mark Briscoe. After an attack on last night's AEW Dynamite on Mark Briscoe, some unlikely pals were aligned to take on his tormentors. FTR team up with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett to take on the Varsity Athletes and Slim J after their backstage attack on Briscoe last night. So certainly, some big matches have been announced for the show, and again, it's going to be taking place at a different time from usual. Finally, a bit of New Japan Pro Wrestling news, and Hiroshi Tanahashi has been pulled from some of New Japan's Road to Dontaku shows. Tanahashi suffered a rib injury at New Japan's Capital Collision on April 15. As a result, he was unable to compete at New Japan's Collision in Philadelphia the following day. New Japan Pro Wrestling has announced that after examination, Tanahashi will not compete at some of the upcoming events in the Road to Wrestling Dontaku series starting on April 20, and his return date has yet to be determined. This was the statement saying, quote, "Thank you for supporting New Japan Pro Wrestling. At Capital Collision on April 15, Hiroshi Tanahashi sustained a rib injury and was absent from the following night's Collision in Philadelphia. After examination, it has been determined that Tanahashi will be absent from the forthcoming events on the Road to Dontaku series following today, April 20, in Nara, with a return date to be determined. We apologize to fans who are looking forward to seeing Tanahashi wrestle and appreciate your understanding. Changes have been made to forthcoming cards. For full updated match listings, check our schedule page. New Japan Pro Wrestling joins fans in wishing Tanahashi a fast and full recovery." As of this recording, Tanahashi is scheduled to face Will Ospreay in a first-round match in the IWGP United States Championship #1 Contenders Tournament at New Japan Resurgence on May 21. It could just be a case of New Japan just ensuring that that match happens and pulling Tanahashi from some more closer shows to ensure that he's going to be okay for the future. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.